Hi guys, back again for the second part of the basic sound design series, and in this video I'm going to cover FM synthesis and what is it, and uh, different ways of making it, creating sounds, and just a couple of the different synths that you can use, starting with the stock plugins and moving up to some of the paid plugins. But the the basic synthesis that we're going to use is just going to be used across all these different synths. So it doesn't matter whether you have a stock plugin or a third party plugin. So if you just look here, what I've got, FM synthesis, when you look at the Yamaha DX7, this is one of the first synthesizers to implement this sound. So in its most basic form, FM synthesis is just using one oscillator, which is an oscillator. What we talked about in the first video is just it generates a sound or a digital tone. And in FM synthesis, you use one oscillator to modulate another, giving you FM synthesis. And it's the oscillators are usually better, similar to how an LFO works, where it modulates the sound, given the waveform that you use. So if you use a sine wave, if we just take a wee quick look here at the LFO, you'll see, as we talked about before, how that modulates up and down. And this is the fastest you can get it at 40 hertz, and I'm pretty sure that you can get oscillator to oscillate a lot faster than that, giving you different sounds that could be metallic, aggressive, or it's well, I suppose it's better for me to show rather than to explain. So we'll just dive into our first one, and that'll be operator. So the first plugin that I want to look at is operator, and it's easily accessible to us all because it comes with Ableton Live Suite, and you'll find that in the instrument section here, and it's operator. So just drag it in here. I'm going to turn these all off and explain what this is. So FM synthesis, as I said, it's just an oscillator being modulated by another oscillator. So here we'll have a sine wave. Turn that reverb off. And we'll make it just a bit pluckier, because I want to make a bell-like sound that's going to work within the context of an ambient track. So it's given that metallic, it's not so aggressive, but it is metallic and it is distinctive to FM synthesis. So starting off, we have our carrier here. It's not been modulated at all yet. If you look at the algorithm here, the yellow will be modulated by the light blue, which will then be modulated by the purple and then by the red. You can change this where none of them are being modulated by the other, or in this case, instead of the yellow being modulated by the light blue, you can change it to the yellow not being modulated and the light blue being modulated by the purple. And you can sort of just figure that out yourself, just by looking at the different diagrams. So it works from the bottom up. So let's get started on creating our bell-like sound. Operator B is now going to modulate A. Nothing's happening now because I haven't actually turned up the volume. So now it's been modulated, but we haven't actually changed the frequency of how fast the modulation's happening. You can see already we've made it so fast that it's so high pitched, and let's just see what that looks like over here. You can see all of this is happening here. We've still got our fundamental frequency, which is the C sharp in 555 hertz, and then everything that's happening up here. So let's modulate it. Now these two will be modulated by this. Nothing's happening again because I haven't turned it up. So I'll do something different here. I'll change it to fixed, and then we can control the frequency here. So we find a sweet spot. There we go. So if you want, you can multiply that. As you can see, it's at 723 hertz. Multiply that by 10. And that's the sound that we get. bit of release. So, and then you can again modulate that with D. But I liked it better here. You don't always have to go all the way with this, and you can add some filtering and use the envelope. There we go. And if we add some delay, just a long delay, and take out some of the highs and add a utility just to turn it up, or we can turn it up here. And we've got ourselves a bell-like sound. Add some reverb. That's just this black hole on a send channel. And then we can play our sound. That's the bell-like sound that we get using FM synthesis and operator to create that. And let's move on to some more examples, more aggressive examples. So again, moving on to Reaktor and how this is basically, you don't need to have this. This is just me kind of showing you how this operates and what's happening underneath the hood. So I'm just going to create a patch from the beginning. This is basically like building a synthesizer. So don't need that. Don't need that. So this is what's happening within Serum. And let me just explain that real quick. Not just Serum, but any synth. So here we have your oscillator A and B, filter, envelopes, and your FM synthesis down here. So just bear that in mind whenever I'm building this. So oscillators, filters, and amp envelope, or amp amplitude volume, and envelopes. So let's just dive right into this. Move that over there. So as I've said, here's your oscillator, just drag it in. And this will be your carrier. So this is what creates the sound. So we'll just be oscillator A, and this is your modulator, and we also need a filter. It's basically modular synthesis, that's what this is, and you need your volume and just two envelopes to control each one of these, similar to how Serum has in the bottom part of the panel. Envelopes in here. So this is going to be the volume, so that's going to need to be played on left and right, and then this is the output. So this is basically the speakers here, and you need to generate a tone, send it through the filter, send it through here, and we need to get a gate signal to come in, and you need to get another gate signal to come in, and just turn that on, so now we've generated a tone. So this is the original oscillator, sine tone again. I'm going to just take all that off and now make this a lot easier looking on the eye. So this is the carrier. So think of that as oscillator A. We'll just kind of keep it in the same layout as Serum would have it. And just need to look and see which one's which here. This is the filter envelope. So that's going to control the filter, and this one's going to control that. So nothing's happening as of yet. So we can use the filter envelope to shape that. And nothing's actually changing, for the reason being that there we go. So that's it set up. We just haven't added FM synthesis. That's what this is for. This oscillator is going to oscillate that one. So at its standard, that's what we've got. Now let's add some FM synthesis. Because it's an LFO, you don't need to. I'll just demonstrate it with an LFO. So we'll put that into modulation B. And we'll turn the sustain up a bit. And we'll modulate the, what do we modulate? This, the sine wave. Modulate this. So that's as fast as we can go whenever we go. It's not FM synthesis, it's just modulation. So if you just take that off completely, it's gone. And now we use FM synthesis and put that into the FM plug. Nothing's happening because we haven't turned it on. So this is the modulator. Because it's modulating like that because we haven't turned up the frequency. So that's up 2 octaves and it's still a sine tone. So again, that's what we get whenever we use FM synthesis, and we can oscillate that with another one. If we wanted to add in another oscillator, you would need to oscillate this oscillator, similar to how we used the different layers of the operator. So this would go into FM synthesis again. So FM goes in from here, into here, into here, and then the tone comes from here. So where's that final one? There we go. So this is the modulator, so this needs... So you can just experiment with that. Now I'm not going to make any sounds within Reaktor, but that's the concept of it. So what's happening there, just to overview that, is this is oscillating this, which is oscillating this, and then this just goes through the filters. So if we look at that within operator, the exact same thing is happening whenever this would be up, turn this one off. So this is basically what's happening there. This is up, oscillating this, which is oscillating this. Same as that. And if we even just put it in the same order, that's what it looks like. So that's that. And then I'll show you in Serum now. So the final synth that I'm going to use to demonstrate FM synthesis, I can't say that, is Serum 2. It doesn't really matter if you have Serum 1 or 2, it both does the same thing. I'll kind of just show you here now. So it's a lot easier to do it within Serum. I just wanted to show you using those other synthesizers so that you would understand exactly how it works. And you basically just turn it on here. FM from B. So that won't actually work until you turn it on, but you need to turn it down. So I'm just going to demonstrate it within 2, just because it's what I'm using now. And if you have access to Serum 1, you have access to Serum 2. I think it comes free for users of 1. So again, there we have. I'll just take that sharpness off, or leave it on. So if we put on FM from B, nothing's happening. Still nothing's happening. But now we've got FM coming from here. Change the saw wave to something else. Just put some warping on, or those sounds are a bit sharp, so that's the aggressive sound we're talking about. So you can see it's quite simple to just have access to FM synthesis, but I know it kind of went a long way around getting to that point to show you that, but now that we're there, it's so much easier and it opens up so much possibilities. So I'm just going to demonstrate, initialize that patch, and so here we are back at the beginning again, and we're going to create something. One of the more prominent sounds in electronic music now is melodic techno, and the stab, the afterlife stab as it's called. So using FM synthesis, we're going to put that together. Let me see. But instead of using FM synthesis from one of these oscillators, we're going to use the sub. So FM from sub. It just about changed. And again, turn the noise on. Compressor, push the mids up, push the lows up. Delay, ping pong. Some distortion. Now we're starting to get there. Some reverb. Some EQ to take out the mids. So that's kind of the sound that you'll get from the afterlife stabs. And that was created from using FM synthesis. So, and I mean, FM can be used for pads as well. And let's just create something really quickly. We will use down, don't need that. FM from the sub, same again, FM from the sub. Right, now change and try the Moog. You'll always find like a sweet spot. Just turn the noise on. I don't actually know what I'm creating here. I'm not specifically trying to create anything. I'm just using this process. And chorus. Delay, lots of it. Flanger for movement, and hyper for width, reverb, and then just take out the low end with an EQ. And there you've got yourself some sort of ethereal pad using FM synthesis. So within Serum. So if we just recap what we've learned today, we can use like aggressive sounds using FM synthesis, metallic sounds, ethereal pads, and it's all in there, and it all comes from different. There's different modules within every synthesizer that allows you to do this, as you've seen. So just experiment with whatever I've taught you, and with the next video we're going to move on to granular synthesis. So that's going to kind of like build on what we've just literally done with Serum 2 there for the ethereal pad. And yeah, that's it for FM synthesis. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.